What do you know about impossible crime? Good afternoon once again. This is Attorney Alfonso Roma, your instructor in Criminal Law, Book 1 of the Revised Penal Code. Now, going back to the question, what is impossible crime? Is there a penalty for something impossible to commit? And that is the term impossible crime. We'll find out in this lecture. And today we'll be discussing impossible crime, and that is provided for under the second paragraph of Article 4 of the Revised Penal Code Book 1. Going back to the question, what is impossible crime? Is it a crime in itself that is the law provides penalty therefore, or is it a term that we need to learn in this subject? Now, impossible crime is provided for, as I said, in Article 4, Paragraph 2 of the Revised Penal Code. And go ahead, check that provision, and then go back to this lecture. We'll discuss about the elements of the crime that is impossible to commit. Now, if you have already visited the provision of paragraph 2 of Article 4 of the Revised Penal Code, you have at least read the text therein, and it basically defines what is the criminal liability of impossible crime. Under the provision, impossible crime refers to any person performing an overt act which would be an offense to person or property. That would be person. Example of offense against person will be simply physical injuries, homicide, and murder. Offense against property could be robbery, theft, estafa, and altering bodily marks could be any offense as provided for in, I think it's Title 7 and Title 8 of the Revised Penal Code. Now, going back to the definition of impossible crime, impossible crime refers to any person performing an act which would be an offense against property or person. The act itself is not a violation of any provision in the Revised Penal Code or in any special penal laws, and the act is one impossible of accomplishment or inherently impossible of accomplishment, or because of or on account of employment of inadequate or ineffectual means. That is, the crime does not produce because it is inherently impossible of accomplishment, or because the means employed is ineffectual or inadequate. We will give out examples later on, and you also have, if you read your modules, you also have the examples on crimes that is impossible to commit. Now, is the impossible crime by itself punishable by law? How could you punish something which is impossible to commit? Now, to explain about the penalty of the impossible crime, you have to understand that the the act of performing, which is however impossible to commit, is the one that is penalized by law. By the way, the penalty for impossible crime as provided for in Article 4, Paragraph 2 of the Revised Penal Code can be found in Article 59 of the Revised Penal Code Book 1. Now, going back to the impossible crime, it is inherently impossible because, or it is inherently impossible of accomplishment, or because it's the means employed is ineffectual or inadequate. We'll give out example of impossible crimes. First, as the text of the provision suggests, it is inherently impossible to commit. What could we give out as an example of inherently impossible of accomplishment? It could be the crime of murder. If the person is already dead and the actor thought that the person was still alive when he stabbed the same, he cannot commit the crime of murder. But the act of stabbing a dead person, if he thought that the person was still alive when he stabbed the same, it could fall under the crime, the impossible crime provision, impossible crime provision. How about if he knows that the person is already dead and he still stabbed the same? If he still stabbed the same, the act of stabbing a dead person could fall on provisions on mutilation. Or now, going back to intentional stabbing of a dead person, and the actor knows that the person is dead and he still stabbed the same, the crime could be mutilation, or it may fall on grave scandal. That is one of the example of impossible crime, impossible, inherently impossible of accomplishment, that's killing of a dead person. Another inherently impossible to of accomplishment would be stealing your own property. You cannot steal your own property. That could fall under impossible crime. Other examples could be trying to shoot someone with a blank bullet. The means employed is ineffectual, or trying to poison someone with less or so lethal poison in mixed in the drink or in any cocktail, that would be inadequate means. The crime could be attempted murder or attempted homicide, or it could fall under impossible crime if you will consider the amount of poison being mixed in the drink that is so little that it cannot produce the crime as intended. So that that could be some examples of impossible crime. If you will look at your modules, there are also examples stated therein. And again, impossible crime is an act against which would have an offense against person, that's title 8 of the revised penal code, and property, that could be fall under title 10 of the revised penal code book 2. An act or offense against person or property, and that is not provided for by any other law or in the revised penal code, and the act itself is inherently impossible of accomplishment, or because the means employed to to achieve the result of the act is inadequate or ineffectual. So if you look at the impossible crime, there is not there are no other offense that could define the act. It's just impossible to materialize because it is inherently impossible, or the means employed is inadequate or ineffectual. So basically, that's impossible crime, and impossible crime is a crime in itself, and it is punishable under Article 59 of the Revised Penal Code. We will discuss on the attending circumstances later on. Make sure to comment on your name and section on the comment, so that I will see to it that your attendance will be noted. Thank you.